morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Orient Kano RA-AA0009L19B. I paid £200 for this watch and I bought the watch from Amazon. So firstly, let's look at the box that the Orient Kano comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the Orient Kano comes in this white cardboard outer box which has the Orient brand logo in silver on the front. So one removes the outer box and inside is the watch box itself. Firstly, I want to give due credit to Orient for producing a high quality watch box, bearing in mind that this is a low tier price point piece at only £200. The watch box is made from plastic and it's coated in a matte black vinyl, which is very aesthetically pleasing. The lid of the watch box has a brushed satin finish aluminium plate which is brushed into horizontal brushing, and that contrasts beautifully with the matte black Orient brand logo. The aluminium plate is pop riveted in the four corners of the hinge lid. So very aesthetically pleasing and high grade of watch box, bearing in mind of the price point of the watch. And the interesting thing is, Orient's parent company is Seiko Epson, and so therefore Seiko Epson also own Seiko, and Seiko 5s come in throwaway cardboard or plastic watch boxes. They don't come in this quality of watch box. So it's interesting that although Orient and Seiko are effectively made by the same company, Seiko Epson, the Orient boxes are better grade than Seiko 5s, such as the Seiko 5KX. So I really like it. Now, with regards to the other items one gets with a watch, the Kano comes with a 12-month international guarantee. This international guarantee booklet is translated into multiple foreign languages and it details the terms and conditions of that 12-month guarantee. As I bought the watch from Amazon, in addition to that, it's also covered by a 2-year Amazon guarantee, which again is very reassuring. One also gets this very comprehensive owner's instruction manual, which details the operation of the automatic movement used in the Kano, which is the Epson caliber F6922 automatic movement. The owner's manual is translated into multiple foreign languages, and it's a very useful read if you're unfamiliar with automatic movements, because it details how to operate the hand winding and hacking mechanisms of the movement. Lastly, one also gets this plastic tag which has the Orient brand logo embossed in silver, and on the reverse of the tag it has the barcode and reference number of the piece, the Kano that we're looking at. So nice touch to get that included with the watch. So with regards to the specifications of the Kano, it's a 44mm case, it has a 50mm lug to lug measurement, it has a 13mm thickness and a lug width of 22mm. The case is glazed with a mineral crystal. There's no anti-reflective coating on the underside of the crystal, so that's a negative. And also, one can consider the use of mineral crystal to be a cost-cutting measure because it's not as scratch resistant as Hardlex used by Seiko, or alternatively sapphire crystal, which is significantly harder and more scratch resistant. The 44mm case has a solid stainless steel screw-down crown which is coin edge finished. The stainless steel crown is also signed with the Orient brand logo, and that's laser engraved to a very high standard. In terms of the execution of the crown, its operation, I would describe it as being acceptable. However, the threading isn't silky smooth, and it can be difficult to actually get the threads to mesh between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the solid stainless steel crown tube. So I would say that although it does operate to a satisfactory standard, there is room for improvement. It's not one of the better crown executions that I've experienced. For example, I think the Seiko crown actions are superior to the crown actions of Orient. So I would say it's okay, but it's something to be mindful of if you like a watch to have good quality crown action. The crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters of water resistance, as does the solid stainless steel screw-down caseback. The circumference of the stainless steel caseback is polished to a mirror finish, which complements the mirror finish of the underside of the case. The center section of the caseback is laser engraved with the specification, and it also is laser engraved with Epson, and as I've discussed, Seiko Epson is the parent company of Orient, and Epson manufacture the Japanese-made in-house movement, the caliber F6922 used in the piece. So the radial brushed satin finish to the center section of the stainless steel caseback is done to a good standard, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. So the caseback provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, And the case finishing to the 44mm case is done to perfection. Nice radial brushed satin finish to the tops of the lugs, mirror polished flanks which are polished to a flawless standard. The crown guards have a brushed satin finish to the tops, and the underside of the case, as I've discussed, is fully mirror polished to a flawless standard, which complements the circumference of the screw down case back. So very nice attention to detail with regards to the polishing of the flanks of the case. I really like the finishing, and I like the contrast of the brushed satin finish on the tops of the lugs with the mirror polishing to the flanks. One thing I want to give due credit to Orient for is the quality of the case finishing, because in between the lugs is often an area that is neglected by watch producers, and Orient haven't neglected this. It's a clear cost-cutting measure when a brand doesn't finish. They don't mirror polish in between the lugs, but as you can see, the in-between section of the lugs is polished to the same quality of mirror polishing as are the flanks of the case. So very high grade of finishing, and I really like that. If you're going to wear this watch on a rubber strap or a NATO strap, it's always nice to have the centre section in between the lugs mirror polished, because it's more aesthetically pleasing than it just simply being machined finish or brushed satin finish. So I really like that about this Kano. Another thing I like about it is the beautiful large teeth of the coin edge finishing to the solid stainless steel bezel. The aluminium bezel insert also complements the navy blue sunburst style finish to the dial. The applied indices have nice symmetry, they're clearly legible in all light conditions, and I really like the layout of the dial. One thing I have to give credit to Orient for is that they haven't copied Seiko's dial designs or their hand designs. They've come up with their own design for the Kano. So the symmetry of the applied indices is very aesthetically pleasing and also functional. I like the arrow-shaped hands, and also I like the white second hands, which sweeps beautifully around the dial. Day-date complication to the caliber F6922 automatic movement. So this is a very practical daily wear piece. It's nice to have a day-date complication with a dive piece. So with regards to the dial, I really like the blue satin finish. The only negative really is the lack of AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal, because unfortunately that makes the sunburst dial highly reflective, as does the applied indices. The light bounces around the inside of the dial, and the problem with that is it can be hard to read in direct light. As you can see, the flat mineral crystal is highly reflective. However, I do like the fact that the dial isn't over-branded with specification and text. It simply says Orient Automatic at the 12 o'clock position, and then it says Water Resist 20 bar at the 6 o'clock position. And I think that's just enough information. They've done a good job by not disrupting the symmetry and the legibility of the dial. The date complication is suitably framed with a white line above it and below it. So I like that aspect, the fact that it's not over-branded and it has good symmetry. With regards to the bracelet, it's an interesting design because, as you can see, the centre section of the bracelet has a raised centre link. Now, the interesting thing is, although it does look like an oyster-style bracelet made of 3 links, each of those 3 links is actually one piece, and I really like that aspect. It's something different. Usually one would see 3 links joined together by push pins or screw pins, but it actually makes for a very solid construction, and it means the bracelet doesn't have any extra articulation or play. It really does feel high quality, even though it uses hollow folded end links. So I like the raised centre section, and I like the fact that all 3 links are actually made from one link, made to give the appearance of 3 links. Unique design, and again, it's something that Orient has come up with themselves. It's not a copy of a Seiko bracelet design, and it's very aesthetically pleasing with that raised centre section. The brushed satin finish of the bracelet is done to a very high standard on the top side and underside, and the flanks of the bracelet are polished to a flawless mirror finish. Push pins in the bracelet links rather than screw pins, and it has a 2-button push flip lock clasp. The clasp is also brushed satin finish to a high standard, and it has the Orient brand logo and emblem engraved into the clasp. Now, nice action to the flip lock, however, the trigger action on the 2-button push is very light, and I think there's room for improvement on that. A disappointment and a clear cost-cutting measure is the use of plated metal. It's not stainless steel. The pressed metal clasp is clearly mild steel, which has been nickel plated, and really the nickel plating and the polishing of the metal underneath the nickel plating has clearly been done as a cost-cutting measure. Personally, I prefer to see solid stainless steel milled clasps at any price point, and although this is a low tier price point piece at only £200, I think it's a disappointment to see nickel plated pressed metal clasps. It really is highly disappointing. I prefer to see a heavier gauge of metal used, and of course a solid milled clasp. And as I've discussed, the other clear cost cutting measure is the use of hollow folded end links rather than solid stainless steel end links. So those are two factors to consider. However, one can upgrade the stainless steel bracelet on the Kano to a strap code bracelet, which is definitely a worthwhile enhancement because it has a solid stainless steel milled clasp and solid end links, and that does enhance the piece and really move it up a tier to a £300 price tier piece with the appearance of the solid strap code oyster style bracelet. So I'll give you a wrist shot and show you how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the watch, I simply took it out of the watch box. And as you can see, I'm pleased to report that it does indeed fit my 8-inch wrist, and I can just fit my index finger underneath the bracelet. So I would say that really 8 inches is the maximum size for this 44mm case size. It does fit my wrist very well, bearing in mind that it has a 50mm lug-to-lug measurement. The shape of the case and the lugs wrap around the wrist beautifully, so it's a very snug fit and very comfortable on the wrist due to the flat stainless steel case back. I really like the flat mineral crystal and the aluminium bezel inserts. They really do complement the blue sunburst style, and also the large teeth to the coin edge stainless steel bezel. Really aesthetically pleasing, very comfortable piece to wear on the wrist for long periods of time, and I would say this is the ideal daily wear piece. If you're looking for a watch to wear for long periods of time and you need a dive style piece with a day-date complication, this will suffice. I also like the raised centre section of the bracelet that I've discussed, and the brushed satin finish really is very aesthetically pleasing. It's got a nice sheen to the 316L grade stainless steel. So good feel good factor, good comfort on the wrist, and the watch does fit larger wrists very well due to the 44mm case size. However, I'll say this, if you're a collector with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, if you have a smaller wrist, you'll find that the 44mm case and also the rather long 50mm lug-to-lug measurement is going to be too large. It's going to wear with too much wrist presence. So really the Kano is a watch only for collectors with a 7 to 8 inch wrist. It's a large piece which does wear with wrist presence, and I would say it really is only suitable for a 7 to 8 inch wrist. If you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, I would rule this watch out. Now, with regards to the movement used in the piece, it has Epson engraved on the case back, as you can see, and Epson produced the movement for this watch, the caliber F6922. So the movement is made in Japan. It has a 40-hour power reserve, it has hand winding and hacking, it has 22 joules, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz, so similar to Seiko movements. Now, the disadvantage of a 3 Hz movement that runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour is, as you can see, look closely at the second hand, and it judders around the dial rather than sweeping smoothly. Personally, I prefer a smooth sweep to automatic movements. I like the second hand to sweep around the movement, the dial smoothly rather than juddering around the dial. So I like movements with a 4 Hz frequency and the industry standard, which is 28,800 vibrations per hour. 21,600 and 3 Hz really gives a more juddering action to the second hand, as you can see, so it's not as aesthetically pleasing. With regards to the accuracy of the caliber F6922 movements, it has a stated accuracy of -15 seconds to plus or minus 25 seconds per day. So as you can see, the stated accuracy isn't particularly accurate. I would describe it as similar in build quality and accuracy to the Seiko 4R36, which is used in the Seiko 5KX and also the Seiko Turtle respectively. I'm pleased to report that this one is actually running at plus 8 seconds per day, which is perfectly acceptable bearing in mind it's a £200 price tier watch. So although the stated accuracy is quite wide at -15 to plus or minus 25, it's often the case that the caliber F6922 runs more accurate such as this one running at +8 seconds. So it's a good, reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. The caliber F6922 Epson movement has also been used in many other Orient watches over the years, including the Mako 2, the Ray 2 and also the Kamasu. So very good movements, good solid reliable movements with no issues. The only thing to be mindful of is the Orient Kamasu and also this Kano are known to have crown defects, so it's a gamble when one buys a Kano if one gets a good solid crown action on the stem or one gets a wobbly crown. The build quality of the crown, the execution is acceptable, as I've discussed. It works okay, but the problem is sometimes the threading is hard to engage, and what happens is the collector tries to force the screw down crown onto the crown tube to engage the threading, and what that actually does is it puts extra stress onto the solid stainless steel crown and the crown stem, and eventually the crown actually shears off the stem through continual forcing the crown to engage the thread. So that's something to bear in mind. The crowns on the Kano have been known to actually wobble and eventually come loose and break off the crown winding stem. So that's a build quality defect, and it really is the luck of the draw whether one gets a well-made crown or a poor quality crown. The Kamasu also suffers with this same production defect, although not to the same extent as the Kano. The Kano is known to have a poor quality crown execution, whereas the Kamasu tends to have better quality crowns. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, with regards to cost-cutting measures, I've discussed the hollow folded end links in the bracelet and the pressed metal clasp. The aluminium bezel insert doesn't have a Lume pip in the triangle at 12 o'clock, as you can see. Another clear cost-cutting measure and something to bear in mind. With regards to the crown action, the bezel action of the solid stainless steel coin edge finish bezel, it's got a nice loud click, but however, as you can see, there's backlash, and I consider it to be unacceptable at any price points to have that amount of backlash. We're not talking about minor backlash. If you look at the triangle, you can see there's a full 1 click of backlash on the bezel. Now, it does align correctly when one brings the triangle up to the 12 o'clock index on the dial, as you can see. There's no alignment issue, but I can rotate the crown, the bezel, half a click either way, clockwise and anti-clockwise. So that's a full click of backlash at any position. And I think it's really disappointing that Orient have produced a watch and they haven't addressed that poor quality bezel action, that excessive backlash in the bezel action. On the Kamasu, which I previously reviewed, it didn't suffer with that extent of backlash. The bezel action was superior. The alignment was perfect, and also there was less backlash. So I would say to you that the Orient Kamasu is a better proposition for that reason alone. It has a Lume pip on the triangle and also minimal backplay. So really it's better done. Better crown action, better bezel action. So let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. Now, bearing in mind that Seiko Epson is the parent company and Seiko Lume Bright is some of the best Lume in the Japanese watchmaking industry, I've got high expectations of the Lume of this Orient Kano. Really, there should be no difference in the quality of Lume used by Orient and the quality of Lume used by Seiko, because effectively they're owned by the same company, Seiko Epson. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it hasn't disappointed. The Lume is a lovely green tone which looks like C3 Superluminova, so I actually believe the green Lume used by Orient to be exactly the same Lume as Seiko Lume Brights used on Seiko 5 watches such as the Seiko 5KX. The arrow style hands are clearly legible. As you can see, they're glowing brightly and they're continuing to glow for a good length of time. The symmetry of the applied indices also gives great legibility. I like the layout of the applied indices, and I like the good Lume plots. There's a good amount of Lume on each of those indices. As you can see, the Lume is continuing to glow well, and the hour and minute hands and also the sweeping second hand with the arrowhead tip is clearly legible. So very good job, and I think Orient deserve full credit for not cutting any corners with regards to the quality of the Lume. I regard it as equal to the quality of the Lume used on the Seiko 5KX, which would be the direct competitor to the Kano, bearing in mind that they're at a similar £200 price point. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. The watch should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point of this piece is £200. Unfortunately, I don't consider it to be excellent quality, nor do I consider it to be excellent value. It is okay quality and it is okay value, but it's not excellent quality and it's not excellent value either. There are clear cost-cutting measures such as the mineral crystal, the lack of a lume pip, the poor build quality of the bezel action in terms of backlash, the doubts I would have about the reliability of the screw-down stainless steel crown, and also the clear cost-cutting measures I've discussed, the hollow folded end links and the poor quality pressed metal clasp, which is nickel plated. So just too many cost-cutting measures for my liking, and I think at £200 there are some credible alternatives. I've previously reviewed the Kamasu, and overall I regard that to be a better quality watch for similar money, because that has a lume pip on the bezel insert, it has a better bezel action, a better crown action, and notably it has a sapphire crystal rather than a mineral crystal. So overall I would say do not buy the Kano. I'm not going to recommend it. I'm going to strongly recommend you consider the Orient Kamasu. Now, if the Orient Kamasu is not to your personal liking, but you're looking for a £200 dive watch, I would also say consider the Seiko 5KX, which I've also previously reviewed. That is a better watch. It uses the 4R36 movement, which is a very good quality movement used in the Seiko Turtle, and it also has a hardlex crystal, which again is superior to the mineral crystal used in this Kano. So the Kamasu and the 5KX are a better buy because they're both excellent quality and excellent value. So I would say to you, look at my reviews of the Kamasu and the 5KX and then contrast them to this review of the Kano. So I would say it's an okay watch and it's also okay value, but I'm not going to recommend it. I hope you've enjoyed my review of this Orient Kano. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.